Hey, sorry about that. I ended up getting a phone call while I was recording. And so here we go. We got 3 bombers, 2 on channel patrol, and then they actually have quite the arsenal down here as well. So this is a mega battle, and I'm going to keep all my fighters committed to that battle because with the ME-110s, they're actually adding points to it, and then so are we. So I actually think this is going to work out in our favor quite a lot. And I think that I'll have plenty of fighters to make it to the next round. Before I do that, we can do a quick just check of the, do like a sanity check. And look at, sorry, I have to just pick up the rule book here. And we can look at the combat results table. So this table, as you can see, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we are going to be using the worst possible side, or the most advantageous to them. So here you can see we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 23, 27, 30, 33, just from ours. But then they're going to add 1 for 34, 1 for 35, and then 2 for 37. So the ME-110s add them. The elite MEs are actually better, as you can see. So it puts us at 37. Now a 37 is only going to get us to F. That's what's insane about this. A 37, of course, would be awesome if we were, anything lower. But it only gets us to F. And if you look here at F, there is no heavy damage. And in fact, there's light damage for us as well. So there's a potential we're going to take light damage. The disrupted ones will get through and be able to go attack a bomber, but only if we get disrupted. If we get abort, so look, if I roll a 5 here, this is a bad outcome, but you see the C's will make it through. And so that's the situation. So you can look at the chart ahead of time to make a final decision on what should we do. Now, one of the things we can do is you can see that they have 8 and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We could take one of our units and just push it out. And so what did I say they had? They had 38, which puts us at F. Now, if I take one of my planes away, that's going to drop us down to E, which is not going to be as good of an outcome for us. So I have to keep everything I have there to keep it at 38. So that's the dilemma we have. So we're going to go ahead and go with the strategy of attacking these bombers head on, or fighters, I mean, and then the bombers will take care of themselves because we're going to have fighters survive this battle. We would obviously have done much better if they didn't have so many dang fighters. It would have been nicer if they had a tad more bombers in this situation, but that's not the case here. Okay, so with that said, this is definitely a mega battle, and what do we got in terms of what's happening next? Raid approach. So these event cards can really ruin our day, so let's see what happens. Bombers break formation, reduce all A bomber groups. Okay, well that's not bad. So they have 1 A bomber group and he gets reduced. So that just means it'll be easier for us when we make it through to deal with them. All right, so now we're going to resolve this battle. And like I said, we made it to F. So let's go ahead and roll. I think we don't want a 5. And of course I roll a 5. It always works that way, doesn't it? All right, so for them, all the A's take light damage. And then we have an abort and disrupt. So the abort for them is reduced. And the disrupt just means they go to in-flight. And so A is light, B is abort, C is disrupt. All right, so let's do the aborts and disrupts. So B is abort, C is disrupt, 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 and abort. So we did that, and then we actually have 3 of them with light damage, so that is 3 points for us. So 1, 2, 3 all go into the light damage bucket. So we score 3 points. I'm happy with that. Now the thing is now we have 2 aborts ourselves. So when we have a full squadron and we abort, we're going to the in-flight at a reduced. So A and B abort, but C makes it through. So let's see how many of ours make it through. We have our two Bs, an A, A, and B. So a lot of our units got pushed into the in-flight box, and they are at reduced, which just means that they're going to take longer to get back into the action. But as you can see, our strategy is still working because the C's make it through with a dash, and so when they make it through, they come into here and they're going to engage 1, 2, 3 bombers with 1, 2, 3 fighters. That's perfection. Absolute perfection. Now let's say that I would have moved one of our fighters ahead of time. We would have bumped up to here. Here you see they would have had an AAA, so we would have gotten no victory points. We definitely would have knocked them all out, but no victory points. We would have taken a loss. The Bs would have made it through, so we still would have gotten to their bombers, but we would have lost victory points and gained none. But our fighters still would have been able to push through. So we made our outcome in the fighter battle, the hunt box battle, better for us and worse for them. And had we done it the other way around, it would have been worse for us. So it still would have been bad for them here, but the first part of it would have been worse. So there's our lesson learned. Okay, now this event could still ruin our day. So let's hope that that doesn't, and let's see what the approach event does, or target event I meant. Patrollers vectored away. Move all full patrolling squadrons to the in-flight box. Okay. Well, the good news here is that doesn't affect the people in the battle. What that affects is our patrollers are all going to the in-flight box, which means that if there's a follow-up raid for today, we're screwed. That's what that means. So normally this isn't a big deal because getting out of an in-flight versus when you're at full strength and not reduced versus being at patrol is the same. It just takes two time advances to get back into action. The drawback is if see, this is the drawback. This particular event, which sucks, is coinciding with a 0. That 0 means that the next raid is coming, and we're going to have none of our, because we went full-blown patrol like we did, none of them are on the board. And so this was, that was done on purpose by the designer. Well done, very crafty, and yeah, we're going to get another raid before this time slot is over. So there you can see our in-flight is very full. But we're not done yet. We now have the pleasure of taking these guys out. And I think this is going to be a slaughter because with him being reduced, that gives us even more points. So this is 4, 8, 12, and 7 is 19, and 6 is 23, and 5 is 28. So we're looking at 3 with 28. And then these, by the way, are just going to go into the in-flight box. They don't actually do anything because they're just over the channel. So we said 28 with 3 groups. And so with 3 groups, you go down to 28. We're all the way down to H, which is a really nice place to be. And you can see there's a lot of heavy damage and light damage in their future. So let's roll and see what they get. We rolled a 3, which may or may not be the good one. It's good enough. So you can see that the A aborts, and then B and C are going light and heavy, okay? So we're going to get some points here, at least 3 points. And the abort for a reduced group is a light loss. Look at this. And here's where I'm saying that. A is abort, and this is the A unit, and he's reduced. So he actually goes to the light loss. He doesn't, because he's reduced. If he was full, he would have just gone to the in-flight. But he goes to light loss, and of course he'll be at full strength there, but that's another victory point for us. So that's 1, and then B goes to light loss for 2, and then C goes to heavy loss for 4. We just scored 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are now at +2 victory points, folks. And I just want to make sure, yep, B was light, C was heavy. So only one of them is in the heavy loss bucket, but we now have a very nice group here, and nothing happened. Well, hold on. We got to make sure nothing happens to us. At 3, we have a disrupt and an A. So let's just make sure. Full squadron, disrupt is reduced and an A is reduced. So they're both the same outcome. So basically, since they're all C's, yeah, the C's are going in reduced. So we have a very large stack of reduced. Okay, so that was a really good outcome. Although now we basically, you know, for lack of a better term, we shot our load really big on that one. All of our eggs were in one basket. That was probably a better, more appropriate one to use. Sorry. And the only good news is we know that the Luftwaffe 2 East is going after these more southern regions, and we're not going to get an opportunity to patrol before we draw this card. That was the only thing I was hoping for, was an opportunity to patrol, and we're not going to get that. But so off we go, and it's going to be Hornchurch, which is 611, and that is completely empty because of our dang patrol event. We had plenty of planes there, patrolling, but because of the event, we lost them. So this is going to be a little difficult, and it's an airfield. So the only good news is, if you remember, when the airfield takes damage, all the planes that weren't involved in the battle get impacted, but there are no planes there. And then all the planes that are in the rearm and load step get impacted, and guess what? We don't have any there either. So this is a good time for the airfield to take damage. So let's go through all the mechanics here. It's an airfield, strategic value 2. So let's look over here. Airfield is a medium, strategic value 2. It is possible we may draw a different raid. We will not. It is actually a major raid. So then we go up, and now we're going to do this. 1 is an awful roll, +3 is 4. So we're at 4, and this particular is a patchy clouds. So we add 3 for 7. That puts us to there. And then you can see the radar nets is going to be +4. So that moves us to 11. So we do have a sufficient response, which is not good enough, and a limited intelligence. We have no planes to respond to this. Nowhere. The sufficient response only allows us to use the planes that are en route, which is just 611. So none of the planes that are in range can join. So I'm going to go ahead and make us lose a victory point, assuming that we're going to draw a bomber. And then let's just draw and see what they get. 1, 2. All right, so you can see for a major raid, they're drawing 12, and there's plenty of bombers. So this one is going to be interesting, though, because they drew so many from the last time. They're actually limited in their fighters in some ways, but we have, unless the events hurt them, they're going to get basically a free bomb, and then they're going to get to shift, 2 columns to the right. So let's try to do this as quickly as we can. So as you can see, if they're doing 12, it's a 17, a 17, an 88, and a 17. So 3 17s and an 88. So let's grab 3 17s. Here's a B, an A, and a C. Okay, all of them are grabbed. And then an 88, it doesn't even matter what the letter is, we'll just grab one. There's only 2 there, as you can see. Technically speaking, all of these go on the time slot +3. So they're at 1600. And then all of these are going on the time slot at 1800 because they get a +4. Okay, So we have 2 ME-110s that are joining this, and there was only 2 ME-110s left. And so they're gonna do nothing, as you know. But they're, at least for now, they're down here in the hunt box, because we do have to draw the events, which might impact them. And we have 2 109s that are gonna be on combat patrol. Or I keep using combat channel patrol. So I'm gonna do that. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them are going to 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to be in the hunt box. So that would have been quite the hunt box. So here's the thing I wanted you to see. There's only 1 fighter left in the Luftwaffe 2. So they're, if they do have to do another raid, it's going to get canceled. Because there's that special rule for number of raiders that are involved. The number of bombers involved means we're going to get rocked. They're going after an airfield, so I'm only grateful that we just don't have any planes there, because we're going to take a lot of damage. Okay, so I already gave myself the -1 victory point. So let's draw the first event card. Radio confusion, this only affects us, so nothing happens. Then the next event card, British altitude advantage. If we have a very early warning or after 11th, we would have gotten an altitude advantage, and that would have probably meant that we get to shift the boxes down. I'm sorry, we're doing a target. Flak, reduce all sea bomber groups. Well, that does help us because it's going to reduce their number. And they happen to have 2 of them, so they're going to get reduced. So that helps us a little. I don't know if it's going to help us much, but it's a little. Okay, so with that said, the fighters here are going to get nothing, or nothing's going to happen to them. So they're all undamaged, and I'm going to basically put them all 3 spots ahead on the 1600 buck. And just to show you what I'm seeing here, look how big that stack is. Holy cow. Okay, and then we're basically just going to do a bomb run here. And here you can see it's a 4 plus a 4 is 8, plus a 2 is 10, plus a 3 is 13. So 13 is a lot less than the 10 or 15 that we usually get, I guess. 13 is right here, and you can see that's guaranteed damage. We are going to shift 2 columns to the right, which is bad, but we do have patchy clouds, which shifts 1 to the left. So it's going to be a net of 1 to the right. So we're going to get, we're definitely going to get hit. So I rolled a 3, and they were at a 13. We shift 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3. We take 2 damage, which is going to be 2 victory points lost. We're back down to -1. And it doesn't matter that these guys are reduced. They're just going back. JU-88, and then these DO-17s, because they don't participate in battles more than once. So, okay. So now we do hit the end of the time phase. So we go to this airfield operation phase. So German fighter turnaround is for the clock. Now, I know I jumped ahead a little bit. The time advance was 2. So we come here and we go 1, 2, and you'll notice the fighters are not yet available for us. So we're going to have another raid series without them being available. But we did German fighter turnaround. Now we do squadron turnaround. And then we're going to have to do advanced warning, which is fine. And then squadron patrol. Okay. Time is advancing by 2. So we look at this. Rearm and land goes to sector. Patrol goes to sector. Full in-flight goes to sector. Reduced in-flight goes to rearm. So all that means is that everything in this stack is going to rearm. So what do we got here? I'm going to flip them over. And here you can see these are 111, 211, 211, 410. So we have a lot of them in rearm because they were reduced in flight. So they're one time advance away from being back in the fray. Now these ones get to go back to their sector. So we have, and these are the ones that were on patrol that got hit by the event card. So as you can see, other than the fact that they got to bomb us during that last raid, we weren't impacted that much more. Okay, so 6 and 7-11 are back on. Now we get to do advanced warning, which you can see here, Luftwaffe 2 South is the next target. And we actually have 2 zones here that are missing their planes because they still have not landed yet, or they're still rearming. So we have Luftwaffe 2 South and Luftwaffe 2 East. So those are the 2 upcoming. And we get to go on patrol. I'm going to choose not to go on patrol with anybody. And my reasoning behind this is they don't have enough fighters. See, look here, they only have 1 fighter available. So I think that there's going to be no raids this round. And let's refresh our memory on what that is, because this is a rule we haven't run into yet. So just bear with me while I try to find it. So there's a... Okay, so here's a rule that I've been forgetting about. This is one of those exceptions I was telling you that I was going to miss, and I missed it. If I have a no warning detection result, and that's a no advance warning, the ME-109s that go to channel patrol go to close escort instead, even if the raid is beyond range. So this is the channel patrol rules. Okay, so I already made a mistake there. I know that's happened several times. And then if there's no great available, substitute 110. Okay, so in the rare event that no grouping can be selected for a raid, the raid is a false raid. Move any squadrons committed to respond to a false raid to in-flight. Do not draw raid event cards for a false raid. Instead, skip ahead to step 16 to update and advance the clock marker 2 spaces along the clock. So it's an automatic 2 advancement. That's in the rare event that no grouping can be selected for a raid. Now, if a target card indicates the raid is beyond, do not select MEs. This is the minor raid rule. 2 MEs are elites, so you have to select those first. We've been following that. This is the select equally between A, B, and C. If no grouping of a similar type are available, do not select any. Never substitute. Do not select any group for that entry, and do not select any group for entries further down the list. So we got that. I think it's back here, right here, Luftwaffe availability limit. It is possible for Luftwaffe to have insufficient grouping at its air bases if the Luftwaffe listed on the target card has less than 2 full fighter grouping or less than 2 full bomber grouping of all types. That Luftwaffe may only mount a minor raid. In this case, when rolling to determine if a raid occurs against the target, treat a major raid result as a minor. If the target card indicates the target is beyond ME-109, at least 2 ME-110 must be available for a major raid to occur. So it's a little odd, but basically the rule that's kicking in is it's going to be a minor raid instead of a major if it comes up. And then we draw from the raid until we can't draw anymore, and then you just basically discontinue drawing. So there's that rule. And then in a weirdly weird situation where you can't even draw anything, then that's what's called a false raid, which we have yet to trigger. We've never triggered that yet. So, but the no warning thing with the channel patrol, I need to pay more attention to that. That's a rule I haven't been paying attention to. It's another one of those exception things that's buried somewhere that isn't where everything else is. I don't personally like it, but the rule's there. It's not like you can say that it's not. It's just you got to remember it. Okay, so this is going to happen, and because we don't have two fighter types, it's very likely going to be forced into a minor raid instead of a major. So let's flip it and see what happens. So they're going after Kenley, which is a 211. Now 211 for us is completely blank. Okay, so this is going to be almost a free raid for them. Strategic value is 2, and they're going after an airfield, which is medium. So we still roll to see what happens. And if I roll a 1, it's actually not going to happen. I rolled a 6. So it's coming up as a major. But because I only have 2 fighters, it has to be a minor. That's basically what it's saying. So we have to reduce it to a minor because of that. Now, the major would have allowed me to detect it easier, and the easier detection would have led to the possibility that I could have intercepted this raid, but a 5 is a good roll. We don't get to add the +3 because of a major raid. We do get to add 3 for the observer, so 5 + 3 is 8. We're at least on the board. And then there are 2 radar nets, so 9, 10, 11, 12 puts us to sufficient and limited, which is our most common one that we land on. If I'd have been able to add 3 more, we would have had an early raid, and I would have not been able to add anybody anyway. So, okay, so let's, we're limited. So it's a minor raid. There's only going to be 1 plane in a minor raid. So it depends on what we draw here. And look at this. We drew an ME-109. So that ME-109 is raiding an airfield. We don't lose a victory point, folks. You have to have at least a bomber involved in order to lose a victory point. So even though nobody could intervene, we basically have one ME-109 that's like angrily coming at us all by himself trying to win the war. Now, it's an airfield. So airfields, when we're strafing, they do get to do strafing. There is no penalty against an airfield. So you can see radar, city, headquarters, or military bases, the 109s contribute no strength. But since it's an airfield, they do. So we grab the one and only ME-109 that's out there. So he is going to participate in this battle. Now, he's not a bomber, so we don't lose the victory point. But he's still going to attack, and see he has a 1 there. So he's going to attack with a 1 value. So let me verify the... If you do not respond to a raid at all, by choice, and that includes 1 or more bomber groups, you must subtract 1 VP. Okay. And it, see, the 2 shifts to the right only occurs if there was no bombers. If no squadrons were in the bomber at any point during this raid, for no bombers intercepted, shift 2 columns to the right. But we're patchy clouds, so we're going to shift 1 column to the left. So this is a little deceiving. It says no bombers intercepted, so you would think that that's no bomber group. But in reality, I think what they're saying is, because in this case, the ME-109 is acting as a bomber because it's in the bomber box. So I'm going to interpret this that the ME-109 counts, and so it still will shift 2 to the right. And the reason I'm saying this is their strength is a 1. So it's all dashes. So we're going to shift 2 to the right, but then 1 to the left because it's patchy. So as long as I don't roll a 5 or a 6, we're going to walk out of this with nothing. I rolled a 3, so it did no damage to us at all. And then this will go on 3 spots ahead, which it can't because we're near the end of the day. So it's just going to go back into the airbase at a reduced level. Okay, so we lost no victory points at all from this, and the bomb didn't even do damage because he basically missed. So we benefited from the fact that they were completely depleted. And then now, per the rules, does it say we get an automatic advance by 2? Let me check. Because if not, I have to draw 2 event cards. 1 second, please. Okay, this was not a false raid situation, which would have guaranteed that we skipped 2 spaces on the clock. Because there was at least 1 group selected, so that was not a false raid. So I actually have to draw 2 event cards for them. So let's do that. The first event card was for the hunt box, which there was nobody in the hunt box. Rendezvous failure. If the raid has 7 or more group, all B group and bomber in close escort box, leave raid. That actually was awesome, but doesn't do anything for us. And then for the target, channel patrollers, close escort. If the raid target is coastal, move all group in from, and that, again, but look at this, time advance 0, it's a follow-up raid. So now they're gonna raid again, but this time there's no fighters. So unless the bomber is the very first one on their list, we're gonna get a false raid situation. So they're bombing a second time, and so we still do the raid detection. We got to do that again. Would also be a major raid, but because of the rules, it's getting forced to become a minor. So this time I rolled a 4. I get to add +1 because it's a follow-up raid, so it's a 5. And then 6, 7, 8 because of this. And then 9, 10, 11, 12. The detection meter didn't move at all. We still don't have anybody we can send. So we draw the first card. Minor raid is 2. We draw the second card, and the first aircraft is an ME-109. They have none available. So we just hit that rare rule called the false raid. So it immediately ends. There is no raid. And now we have to advance the time by 2. We don't even draw event cards. It's the false raid rule just kicked in. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and the time marker will advance by 2, and then we have to do the calendar update phase. I'm sorry, the airfield update phase. So 1, 2, all of these are coming back. So they're going to have plenty of planes now. So these are ME-110, 109. It's a little painful, but you gotta look at them. Make sure they go in the right boxes. All right, they have plenty of planes now. So that's not going to be an issue. All right, so what do we got in the airfield operators? That was the German fighter turnaround, squadron turnaround. We basically follow this chart, and we know darn well that all of these guys are going back. So 410 goes back, 111 goes back. We have all of our planes, basically. And this is one of those situations where this is the last time of the day. So we're basically going all in here. There's no need to wait because during the day phase, the calendar update phase, several days are going to possibly go by. So everybody's going to land and refuel and all that stuff. So with it being end of day, we're basically, everybody's going on patrol and everybody's getting involved. Okay, so we did that. We get to do advanced warning, and then we go on patrol. So the advanced warning, we know that 2 east and 2 south. So the 2 area is going to be where the focus is. So, so basically, going on patrol with everybody in their own area, right? So we're gonna go on patrol in our own area. We could go in London with somebody. Yeah, actually I will. These guys are gonna go into London, and then these guys are gonna go into 111. So they're gonna patrol there. These 2 are gonna patrol in the only place that they're adjacent to, which is down here in 312. And then the 312 guy is gonna actually go patrol up there to help out at 212. And, you know, these are rare for these to actually happen. So the 212 guy, he's gonna go up and patrol at 411. And then this guy over here is gonna go patrol 410. So I'm basically moving all my planes to concentrate up here mostly, and then even down here I move them up to concentrate that way, and then these guys over here are moving down to help, or in this case they moved into here so these guys can move into London. So let's see if this strategy works. I have no idea. There's so many ways it could backfire, but let's go ahead and draw the card. North Weald, which is 511, and that's right here. So this was the east. So these were the ones that are further back. It's a strategic value of 1, and they're going after an airfield. So there's a real good chance we're not going to get a raid here. Because if you look here, I know it's a little bit hard. It's a medium target, and here you can see these are minor raids only if I roll a 5 or a 6. So this raid may not happen. I rolled a 1, so it's not even happening. So we throw the card out and we draw another one. So now it's the Luftwaffe 2 South, and there you can see it's 711, and it's a strategic value of 3. And it's an airfield, so it's still medium, but with it being a 3, you can see we're gonna get a raid no matter what, and it's definitely a major raid. So 711 is this spot right here. So we have 2 planes on patrol there. So let's see what kind of reaction we can get to it. And let's roll a big number, please. A 3, I guess it's better than some possible results. So we have a 3 plus a 3 for a major raid, puts us at a 6. So we're starting off there. And we have patchy clouds, which gives us 3 more to 9. And then we have plus 4, so 10, 11, 12, 13 puts us to there. And maybe that's hard for you to see, but that is a early response with poor intelligence. Poor intelligence means we have to commit our planes before we even know how many are coming. So that's bad. But the early response means that we can take squadrons patrolling in and around in the sectors that is being attacked, that's en route, and also any sectors that are patrolling. And remember, everybody's patrolling, so in range. So what it's saying is the 711 can attack. So I'm gonna have to commit my 711 guys now, and I will. So these 2 are going to commit. Then it says that in range is 211, 611 in London. And I think you guys know me by now. I'm committing the kitchen sink. So 211 is going to get 3 more. 711, I'm sorry, 211, 611 has 1, 2, 3, 4 more. And then it says London, which I moved those 3 guys into London, remember? So I'm adding 1, 2, 3 more. Look at that. So I'm basically throwing the sink at it. There's a chance they may raid again, you know, because of follow-up or a time advance of 0. But I think the way you score points here, folks, is you swarm them. And that's what I'm doing. And if I have to lose points the next round, then so be it. So I'm going to swarm them. All right, but with that said, I do have to take a quick break. So Thank you for watching. Stay awesome. I'll come back and we'll draw the cards to see exactly what they're attacking us with.